Hey y'all, Happy New Year and welcome back to my channel. I'm Regina. Today we're going to get started with some casting resin and our Blitzen IOD mold. This is the first time I've used casting resin. Overall, I don't feel like I did too bad. So it's equal parts A and B. There's an A bottle and a B bottle. And what you're going to do is you're going to pour your A in and then your B in, and then you're going to give it a really good mix for about 30 seconds. And the way you know that it's ready to go is it'll be a nice clear color. Now, you only have a certain amount of time because it sets up within 10 minutes. So you want to work as fast as you can. I'm just going ahead and I'm pouring it into my molds. And then I'm going to use my little coffee stirrer and kind of spread that out. Now, hindsight, these molds are really shallow, and honestly, because of the lighting, I didn't see that I wasn't getting full coverage, or I wasn't getting it filled to all of the ends, but overall the project does end up turning out really well. For this project, I'm only using 3 of the larger snowflakes, but because I have more resin that I don't want to waste, I'm just going to go ahead and cast some of these little snowflakes as well that can be used at a later time. I do over pour on a couple of them, just not paying attention, I guess, and it's okay because in the end we can trim those up. So I just kind of sped up the camera so you could see how quickly it sets up. Overall, I think it was probably around 10 minutes when it was finally ready to pull the cast. So here's when I pick it up and I see I didn't get it all the way to the end of the cavity. So I need to be mindful of that the next time and kind of probably turn the mold around so I can make sure that I'm hitting all of the little intricate details and all of the different spots. So now I'm just going to pluck these out. They come out really easy and they're actually kind of warm. It's a really neat experience. And they have such great detail. I actually am looking forward to working with this resin some more and getting that technique under my belt for sure. Now I'm just taking my little fussy cutting scissors and cutting off the overpour of resin. Now I'll take my Waverly chalk paint in Snow White and give this just one coat. Now if I'd have poured it like it is in the center properly over the whole mold, I probably wouldn't have had to paint it. But since I did have to paint the larger one, I went ahead and just gave all of them one coat. I'm just making sure that I'm getting down into all of the little details, and I'm using very little paint so that I don't have any pulling. I don't want it to pull up in all of the little crevices and be too thick and take away from the design or detail of the snowflake. Now I have these wooden spools that I found on Amazon, and I will link those below. And I'm going to go in with my Tobacco Road stain and give it a nice stain. Well, as soon as I put this on and started to wipe it in, I knew it wasn't the richness that I was going for. So I do kind of take my paper towel and wipe that back and go in with my Antique Wax by Classic Home. And this is definitely the warmth of stain that I was going for. So what I do is I just go ahead and I give it a good coat and I let it sit for about 30 seconds and I wipe it back. And then I do the top and the bottom. I do give it another coat, 2 coats, and I just repeat the process. I put on a nice thick coat, let it sit for about 30 seconds, wipe it back, and then do the ends. I pick up another one and start repeating the process on that, and I just keep swapping back and forth until I get the richness in the wood that I really like. Now I'm going to go in with some wooden dowels that fit directly into those wooden spools, and I will link those as well. And I'm just giving them a nice thick coat and rolling them a quarter of an inch and just going over the entire thing until I get the top half done. Once I get that done, then I'll pick it up and wipe it off with a paper towel. And these only needed one coat, and I was happy with the saturation that I got. Once I wipe them back, then I just flip them over and I repeat the process for the other half. After I get all of the spools and dowels stained, I set those to the side to dry. Now I'm going to take my Rub and Buff in Silver Leaf and I'm going to just put a little bit on my finger and dab it off. And then I'm going to lightly go over all of the raised edges of each of the snowflakes. At first I'm a little light-handed. I don't want to get it anywhere but on top of the raised edges, so I'm just trying to be really careful. Once I'm satisfied with knowing that I'm being light-handed enough, I do go in with a little bit more ferocity and give those a thicker coat. And look how pretty. You can't tell how shiny it is on camera, but trust me, it really is very shiny and sparkly and just reminds you of a cool winter snowy day. Once I get all of those done, then I'm going to take my Titebond Quick and Thick and I'm going to glue my dowel rods to each of the snowflakes. I'm going to put some Titebond down and then I'm going to go in with my hot glue and put some hot glue down too so that we have an immediate hold, and once the Titebond is dry we'll have a stronger hold overall for longevity. I just continue and repeat the steps for the other two snowflakes, and then I'm just going to set those to the side to dry. Once they're dry, then I'm going to decide how tall I want them, or at what lengths do I need my dowels, and then I'm going to go in with my miter shears and just snip them off. Once I decide that that's the height that I want for the larger one, I'm going to go in and just work with the other two until I'm happy with the way that all three work together. I didn't glue my dowels down into my spools. I felt like they were pretty solid, but if it's something that you want to do, definitely go ahead and do that. Now we're going to work on our mittens. The folks over at burlapfabric.com were kind enough to send me some of this burlap and some of this ticking stripe. I was so excited when I got the box, and I tell you, this project turns out so stinking adorable. I start off by printing a free printable of a mitten. There's so many on the internet, and I trace that down onto my burlap fabric. You might want to use a smaller Sharpie than I did or marker than I did, just so you don't have a lot of bleed through. Once I get that down, I go ahead and trim that out of the burlap and set it to the side. And now I'm going to just repeat that step. I'm going to make 7 mittens overall, so I'm going to do 3 burlap and then 4 of the ticking stripe fabric mittens. On the ticking stripe fabric, I was actually able to just use a ballpoint pen. Now that I have them all drawn out, I'm going to go in and cut out each set. Once I have them all cut out, I go in with this Fabri-Tac glue for fabric, and I glue them together and let them sit overnight. But honestly, I think hot glue from the get-go would have been just fine, because when I went to start stuffing these, a couple of the edges, maybe I didn't have enough glue and it kind of pulled apart and I had to use hot glue anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of them glued together, and like I said, I let them sit and dry overnight, but this is definitely not necessary, especially if you're using the hot glue. Once they're all done, they're already super cute. I'm just going to take some polyfill fiberfill, and I'm going to stuff my little mittens until I'm happy. I do take a little glue stick to kind of shove that stuffing up into the little thumb hole. Once I get it stuffed, I go ahead and seal it up and then massage it a little bit to make sure the stuffing is exactly where I want it to be. And I go ahead and repeat this step for the other 6 mittens. If my cute little projects today are inspiring you in any way, please give me a thumbs up or leave me a comment below, as it helps to grow my channel. Now I have all my little mittens stuffed. So I have some fur trim that I was going to use for the cuff, but I didn't quite like the way it looks, so I used Sherpa instead. I like the thickness, and I feel like it's a little bit more cozy than the fur trim was. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a sanding block. Yes, a sanding block. You could probably use the edge of some blunt scissors as well. And I'm just going to brush this against the fabric to kind of give it a worn look and get a little bit of fraying on each of the mittens. So now we're ready to attach our fur on each of the mittens for the cuff. And I'm just using hot glue and going over just that one section of the mitten and gluing that Sherpa down. I again just repeat the process for all of the mittens. Now that they all have fuzzy little cuffs, I'm going to go in my stash and I pull out buttons and some twine, some bedazzled jewels. What else did I get? Some keys and some little pearls, string of pearls. And I did find these 2 little snowflakes in my stash as well. And I'm just going to embellish them. So I just start the process by just setting each of the items that I think I want to put on the mittens next to the mitten, and just go through and pick out everything that I want to use, and um, just lay it all out before I actually commit. One by one, I'm just going through and embellishing the little mittens. This I made a little pearl garland. I tied off the part of the string, and then I put hot glue on the end so the pearls wouldn't slide off, and I glued those to the back of the mitten. And then I just tied a sweet little bow out of twine and glued that on as well. And now we have a set of mittens. Now I'm going to do a few things to display these. So first I go in and I snip a little hole in the back of each of the mittens so that I can get a dowel rod in there, because I want to show you how you can display these in many different ways. So the first way is going to be on those stools. On those spools. And then I'm going to go in with some Velcro and I'm going to glue that the length of the mitten, and this is going to be so that we can Velcro this to a piece of twine in the end and also use them as a garland. I think this would be so lovely with vintage spools, but I couldn't find any. And I can see this project, for Easter eggs or Christmas trees or, little bunnies you can stick on these spool sticks. And I think they will just tie in so well with your home decor. Of course, the possibilities are endless as far as the fabric you can use. And I just hope that you loved everything that we made today. The mittens can be displayed in many ways. Like I said, you can put them in a basket. You can put them on the spools. You can now attach them with Velcro to the jute twine for a really pretty garland on your mantelpiece. I love the way how everything turned out, and I want to thank burlapfabric.com again for the beautiful fabric that they sent to me. I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good day. Bye-bye.